All right, gentlemen. First up on the docket, before we do anything else, we are going to work on head spacing our barrel. And this is one of the things that a lot of people don't understand. These guns are basically 5.56 AKs, but they're threaded in headspace like a Western rifle, more like a Western bolt action. So, that is what we're gonna do first today. I wanna get this headspace before we do anything else, just to make sure we don't have any problems. These barrels, I don't know who made this barrel, and I wanna make sure it's correct before we do anything else. Nice thing about this particular barrel is it's complete virgin barrel, so there's no gas port, and there's no handguard cut for your handguard. So that gives us a lot of ability to get this barrel moved in and out by taking some material off here and off the bolt face, or barrel face, excuse me, to get this thing perfectly perfectly aligned and gauged correctly. So let me bring you in a little closer and I'll show you how you would headspace this. So let me get close, hold on. All right, so we're over the top of the barrel. The barrel is fully torqued in. Your headspace is based, for one of these, is based off of a spot up here on the front of, it's out of focus, a section up here, and I can't remember the name of it, there's a name for it, but basically a spot up here where it indexes into the front of the barrel, indexes into the chamber, all the way to the back. So the way you're going to check headspace, pretty straightforward. You're gonna have, let me bring this back out a little bit. You'll have your gauges here. Can't quite get them in focus. You'll have a go, a no-go, and a field gauge. And the difference, we're talking very minor amounts of difference between them. Let's see here. So this is as you can see, this is a go gauge. It's 1 inch 46/36. And these are precision tools, so take care of them. Now this one is a no-go, and this one is 1 inch 46/66. So you can see here, the difference is only 30 thou. The difference between this one and this one is 30 thousandths longer. Then you take a look at the field gauge, and it is 46/96. So this is another 30 thou longer than the no-go. If it'll close on the go, you're good. If it'll close on the no-go, you're pushing your luck a little bit. We are talking about a 5.56 chambering, which is a little bit longer before you hit rifling. So you can, if it closes, this is my personal opinion, and we're gonna get arguments in the comments about this, but if it closes on a no-go, when you're talking 5.56 specifically, when it closes on a no-go but won't close on a field, you're still within tolerance. You're still within what would be considered military tolerance. And I'll flash a chart up here so you can see that what the mil spec would be is actually considerably longer. It increases service life, obviously, that's why they do it, but it's considerably longer than even a standard field gauge. So you could make it work. What we're gonna do here is set it to close on go, not close on no go. It's gonna be a fairly tight chamber, but that gives it room to expand and wear in over time. So that's what we're gonna do. Let me show you how to do that. You're gonna take your go gauge. Here's a go gauge. Take your bolts out. Click your go gauge in under the extractor. Slide it in. And it should lock in place. And you see this one has a lot of movement, so it's very sloppy. Oh, wait, hold on. There you go. You can see this one has a lot of movement. It's very sloppy. So this is a fairly loose, wide headspace right now. We will take 30 thousandths more, longer, 30 thou. So from that shoulder somewhere up here to the back, it's an extra 30 thou. Push it in. And with a no-go gauge, it should not fully lock. You'll want it to rotate over to like, say like right there and stop. And you can see this one, it goes right on over. So like I said, that isn't a huge deal. What is a pretty big deal is this field gauge, which is another 30 thou longer. it locks in perfectly and is actually nice and snug. Probably a little bit too snug, but you can see, yeah, you can see I can't even pull the bolt over, that this is a very long, it's a very long headspace. It's probably 30 thou over what we want. So what's that mean? To bring this backwards, we'll remove 30 thou-ish off of here, and probably 30 thou-ish off of here, off of this face as well. That will bring the overall headspace backwards, that 30 thousandths, which will mean it will lock on a go, won't lock on a no-go. Now, for a lot of people, to dispel some things out there, for a lot of people who are talking about removing material, oh, you're still in focus, off your bolt lugs. If you don't have a virgin barrel, if your barrel has the cuts and a gas port already drilled in it, and you need to headspace it, it's short chambered and you need to headspace it, the proper way to do it is to get a 5.56 chamber reamer and ream it deeper. Some people will tell you, remove material off the bolt lugs, and I'm gonna go with that being a bad idea. Yes, it will probably work just fine. No, it probably won't blow up on you. But these lugs are machined to a certain length for huge amounts of pressure. You're talking 50,000 PSI, something like that. This lug is what's saving your eyeball from being turned into part of this machine. Don't go doing that. It's expensive, I know. But get yourself a 5.56 chamber reamer, or just rent one from one of the rental companies. It's like 20 or 30 bucks. Go very slowly, feed that in, chamber it just a little bit deeper until this fits. That's your answer. But let's take this off, move it over to the lathe, and we'll start working on it. All right, I got this centered up in the lathe, and I'm centering. If I had all the tools, you'd probably want to put a dowel in here and center off the bore. With American manufacturing, I find these things to be pretty good, so I have it actually centered off of the section here. so it's centered within 1/1000th of an inch. It's running pretty much as true as I can make it. Let's spin this up, remove this, and we're going to use a nice sharp piece of carbide. We're gonna remove, we'll go for 10 thou here and 10 thou here and see how that does. Once I get that done, I'll move the bed out of the way, bring the receiver in, torque the receiver on this here so I don't have to redo that, and then we'll headspace it again, see how close we are, then keep going. So let's see what we got. Light speed. Let's go. Let me grab the receiver. Let me move the bed back. We'll grab the receiver and see how that looks. I probably only took about, I don't know, 4 or 5 thou off. I took a very light cut. We'll recheck it. I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll do the finishing off camera and then move it back over. All right, so with the little bit that we just took off, you can see that the bolt will no longer close on the field gauge. We probably got, that's hard to say, 2 or 3, if you took probably 2 pennies, stacked them together, that's the gap that we are running right here. So obviously we need to go a little bit further, not a big deal. We will take this out. Take this off and take a little bit more. And we'll do that progressively until it won't close or it's snug, either one, on a no-go, but will close fine on the go. So let me get that done. I'm gonna do that off camera so I can just work, and I'll bring you back to the bench when we're done. And we're back. Barrel is torqued in place. Let's take a no-go gauge. Mind you, there is no barrel extractor yet. There's no extractor cut on the barrel yet, so it's gonna be a little snug. We will cut that in later. Notice, doesn't go over for the no-go. And pull this out. It's gonna be snug. I think I have it a pretty tight chamber. Take that, put it in. goes over and is tight. But again, I believe that snugness is, you can see it's a pretty snug chamber. Part of it is going to be cutting in that extractor will relieve a little bit, because you can see there's still a gap here. Cutting that extractor will relieve some of that. But that's it, that's headspaced. Let me pull this out. There we go. So as long as it'll go over, it's a little snug. It'll warp in time. It'll definitely, as you shoot it, the first couple rounds, that chamber will stretch out that 2-3 thou, and everything will work fine. We'll make sure we put 2-2-3 through it the first, I don't know, 100 rounds before we put some 5.56, just to warm the barrel up and get that throat to stretch in just a little bit. That's it. That is a fully Headspace gun. Now, if you went too far, one thing you can do is if you, like this, if this is too tight for you, you can always get a 5.56 chamber reamer at this point, go back in and ream out another 5 thou, 2 thou, 3 thou, something like that. If you want to loosen it back up a little bit, that's always the option. Again, I would not go removing material from the lugs. I don't think that's a great idea. Just me. So there you go, guys. That's how you headspace this. Last thing we're gonna do is over here, I will put a witness mark on the barrel and a witness mark on the receiver, so I know what timing is, and we'll make sure it's timed correctly. But next video, we're gonna do a little bit of demilling and getting the parts kit ready to go, so we can start building this one back up. But there you go, first part's done. Hope you guys like it. Leave me a comment if you want to tip me on doing this type of work. Remember, I'm not making anything now off YouTube, so if you want to tip me, there's a bunch of ways down below. You know, just a little bit of coffee money would be really appreciated. So there you go. Hope you guys like it. I'll catch you guys next week on the next one. See ya.